The regular meeting of the Mishawaka Common Council from Monday, June 5th will please come to order. Good evening. Those of you who are in attendance, we're happy to see you. If you would, please take a minute and check your cell phone to make sure that you have placed it on silent or vibrate. And for those of you participating remotely, good evening as well. Members of the public participating remotely are asked to place their microphone on mute during the meeting with the exception of any public hearing. At the appropriate point in the public hearing, I will invite the public to unmute their microphone for purposes of submitting such comments as they may wish to make, one person at a time. All persons wishing to make public comments will be asked to first state their name and address for the record, and after completing the comment, members of the public are once again asked to place their microphone on mute, and we thank you all for your cooperation this evening. At this time, if you would, please join us in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Hazen? Mr. Belovich?
Here.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Here.
Mr. Benicki?
Here.
Mr. Emmons?
Here.
Mrs. DeMade?
Here.
Mr. Compton?
Yes, here. Yeah.
Mrs. Volker?
Present.
Here.
Mr. Hixenbaugh?
Here. Approval of the minutes of our regular meeting of May 15th, 2023. Are there any additions or corrections? Then hearing none, the minutes stand approved as received from the clerk's office. Petitions, communications, remonstrance, and memorial.
Yes, Mr. President. We have petition number 2023-11 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is a petition to rezone from R1 single-family residential to R2 two-family residential to match existing use as a duplex, 712 Division Street. This is signed by Daniel Williams. Petition number 2023-12, to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana, petition to rezone from S1 extensive open space to C3 City Center Commercial, northeast corner of Cedar and East 3rd Street. This is signed by Ken Prince, Mishawaka City Executive. Does not say his title, and I move on. Petition number 2023-13 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is an annexation and rezone to C4 automobile-oriented commercial, 100 feet north of the northeast corner of East McKinley. Annex and zone to I-1 Light Industrial District for proposed self-storage vacant land south of 1505 South Burkett. This is signed by Thomas Fitzpatrick. Petition number 2023-14 to the honorable members of the Common Council, City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to annex and rezone to C4 automobile-oriented commercial, 100 feet north of the northeast corner of East McKinley and Maplehurst. This is signed by Stoyan Stoyanov. We also have the presentation of encumbered funds and the annual operational report for local roads, street, and bridges. This is from Controller Rebecca McGuire, and no action is required by the council.
Thank you. Before we move on, are there any questions from the council with regard to either of those information items? Hearing none, then the record will reflect that the information has been presented. This evening, we have no report of any special committee, so we'll move into ordinances on first reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2023-21, and ordinance of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, authorizing an investment policy for the City of Mishawaka. A request was made for first and second reading that has been withdrawn.
Thank you. Proposed ordinance 2023-21 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2023-22, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka authorizing the investment of public funds pursuant to Indiana Code 5-13-9-5.7. This is authorizing for the investments of public funds. A request was made for first and second reading. It has been withdrawn.
Proposed ordinance 2023-22 will also be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Proposed ordinance number 2023-23, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka authorizing the investment of public funds pursuant to Indiana Code 5-13-9-5. This has also been requested for first and second reading, and that request has also been withdrawn.
Proposed ordinance 2023-23 will be assigned to the Budget and Finance Committee. Resolutions.
Resolution R 2023-13, Civil City Property Disposal, 600 East 3rd Street, 605 Lincoln Way East, and 637 Lincoln Way East. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, authorizing the City of Mishawaka Redevelopment Commission to sell municipally owned property in accordance with the City of Mishawaka Municipal Code, Chapter 2, Article 5, Division 3, Section 2-492 and 493.
Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing of proposed resolution 2023-13. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come forward.
Mr. President, council members, Dave Wood, Mayor, here filling in for Ken Prince, our Director of Economic Development and Planning, who was off watching his oldest graduate tonight. So we're proud of him and congratulate him for that. But here to urge and ask for your support of Resolution 23-13. This is the disposal of all of the City Hall properties typically found that were within the block that is bounded by Laurel Street to the east, Cedar Street to the west, Lincoln Way to the north, and 3rd Street to the south. So the biggest piece of property within that is the City Hall proper piece. As you have seen plans and certainly known and have graciously approved ARPA funding for, that will be the home of the new one roof concept from the United Way and of St. Joe County and Boys and Girls Club. They intend to renovate the building, the old school, into a neighborhood center that will have services that are critical in nature to the citizens of the surrounding neighborhood. They also intend with that to add a gym, the former Bingham site of the old school, later park property. That property is zoned differently, and so we will be coming back and requesting rezoning of that property for that project. When we went through the process to relocate City Hall, we wanted very specifically to be hands-on in whoever took over our old building. We are very comfortable and confident in who is taking over the old building and renovating it. We think that it will be great, not only for the neighborhood, which was supremely important to us, but also to the community as a whole. And so this includes that site. We will typically give them our customary offer, which is we will give the property to them for $1, knowing that they're going to invest millions into it and bring vital services that are needed to the neighborhood, which more than make up the property value. We also had as an alternative plan, should no one step up and be interested in a building that we found suitable, we had demolition dollars that we had allocated for it. So we do not have to now spend for the demolition of that building, which could have cost, $250,000 to $500,000. So those are funds that conceivably we could be saving. The corner of the Lincoln Way, Cedar Street, the former Hipschman House, if you can remember back, a couple of decades ago, that will be the future site of the Women's Care Center. And they've outgrown their current facility on Lincoln Way, and will be looking to build a new office and service building on that corner, which we think is great use of that property. We will maintain the site as far as parking. That will still be allowable for public parking. The parking lot is there. It will remain. The church uses that on Sundays. We can conceive that it might be used as Riverwalk section gets done. So that will remain. The corner of Laurel and Lincoln Way will be a future site of a two-story home built by the Mishawaka Building Trades. And they are already excited to take that site over and put in a home there that meets the character of the neighborhood. So we specifically asked that they build two-story. They were good with that. And so I think they will do that site a lot of credit. Couple of side notes. While the park, we will be bringing that separately for a rezoning. We will be introducing essentially a new park to that area, which is Catty Corner on the corner of Lincoln Way and Cedar Street. That's under construction right now, and so will be nicer amenity than Bingham Park ever was. And then the school, part of the restriction for the school transfer of that property over to Boys and Girls Club, specifically we asked that they not turn that into a charter school. That originally was a school city building. We feel that just out of loyalty to school city of Mishawaka, we don't want a use in there that competes with school city. And so we've asked that that deed restriction be put in. The users have agreed to that, and so that will be a part of our agreement. So with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mayor Wood? Mrs. Volker?
Hi, Mayor Wood. I wanted to make two comments, and you already mentioned one. I am really happy to see that the building trades, as they're doing on Mishawaka Avenue, are respecting the character of the neighborhood with the house that they're planning on building there. It really will fit in nicely, and it really kind of pairs nicely with the house across the street, across Laurel. So I wanted to point that out, but I also wanted to say thank you to Alliance Architects, because I remember when Marty Murphy and the crew were in here talking about the Women's Care Center, I made a comment to them about how I thought that the design of the building looked like it belonged in Granger. And they did do some tweaking of it so that it looks a little bit more arts and crafts, and I think it'll fit better into the neighborhood. So I just wanted to point out that I had noticed that change, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Mr. Compton?
Mayor Wood, pardon me if this was in the information, but I didn't see it. Who is going to own the Women's Center, the Women's Health Center? Is that going to be a local hospital? Is that privately
It's a
owned?
nonprofit. They provide critical care for specifically pregnant women, services of that nature. So they're currently located and have been for many years, right across from the 100 Center on Lincoln Way. They've outgrown that space.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Mayor Wood? And Mr. Mayor, thank you again, both to you and Mr. Prince, for the work that you've done on this. As we discussed when we approved the coronavirus-related partial funding for the United Ways One Roof project, that, in our mind, checked off the boxes with regard to community services and good for the community, and the fact that the Building Trades Program and the Women's Care Center also will be able to take advantage of that site only enhances that benefit to Mishawaka. So thanks to all involved for the work that you did on that.
Well, thank you for the partnership of the council and buying into the vision that we couldn't be more excited about that site in its entirety. We think that it will be a great thing for not just the neighborhood, but all of Mishawaka.
And I'll say for the record, and I'm sure you'd agree, during the public comment and public meeting process that we had, we received no objections from the neighborhood. So I think we're all, again, of one mind that this will be well received by the neighbors as well.
The Mishawaka way.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed resolution? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone present this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mr. Belovich.
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti.
Yes.
Mr. Benicki.
Yes.
Mr. Emmons.
Yeah.
Mrs. DeMade.
Yes.
Mr. Compton.
Yes.
Mrs. Volker.
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh.
Yes.
The proposed Resolution passes 8-0.
Ordinances on second reading.
Proposed ordinance number 2023-17, an ordinance annexing contiguous territory to the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, and providing zoning classification therefore. This is to annex and establish zoning as C1 General Commercial District, 15793 East University Drive. This is a public hearing with no vote.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing on proposed ordinance 2023-17. And if memory serves, our first presenter is participating remotely. So in a moment, we'll invite others to the podium, but we'll begin by inviting the representative of the developer who is participating remotely to unmute their microphone and begin by stating your name and address for the record.
My name is Dave Holzum, and I'm with Nifong Realty and Development out of Green Bay. Are a Midwest, Southeast developer of mid-box shopping centers, strip centers, so on and so forth. So we have a one tenant for this building, and we're looking for a second tenant, at the moment to develop this center on University Drive.
All right. Any questions for the developer's representative from the council? Then thank you, sir. If you would, please mute your microphone again. And now I'll switch back to inquiring whether there are any individuals in attendance this evening who wish to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance. Please come forward. Then is there anyone else participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on this proposed ordinance. Pursuant to Indiana law, no vote will be taken this evening, but a vote will take place at our next council meeting on June 19th. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Proposed ordinance number 2023-18, an ordinance amending Chapter 137 of the Municipal Code of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana, as from time to time amended, commonly known as the zoning ordinance of 1966 of the City of Mishawaka, Indiana. This is to rezone from I-2 heavy light industrial to R1 single-family residential to match existing use, 2027 East LaSalle.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Land Use Planning, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2023-18, report that they have examined said matter and that their opinion, it should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for the acceptance.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will now move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2023-18. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? And again, we have an initial presentation from an individual who is remote. So we'll begin by a presentation via remote technology from the petitioner, and then we'll open it up for further public comment.
Good evening. This is Karina Houghton, 2027 East LaSalle Avenue, Mishawaka. And we are just petitioning to move from I-2 to R1 residential for further upgrades to our property and for insurance purposes.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the council? Mr. Compton?
Thank you, Ms. Houghton, for making this presentation or this request. You intend to live in this home? This is your home? It's not a rental property? It's not an investment
Correct.
property for yourself?
Nope.
You just need to do this for the bank and whoever to get
We
it
want
set up
to
for yourself?
add, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
sorry. We want to add a pole barn garage style addition to our house to store our classic cars in.
Good for you.
Invite us
Yeah.
over.
I like that.
Absolutely. He has 11 of them right now, so we need some more space.
God love you. I need a wife. Let me do it. I'll leave that at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the council? All right, then, thank you, ma'am. If you would go ahead and mute your microphone, we appreciate it, but thank you for your presentation. And at this point, we'll invite anybody who is in physical attendance to the podium to speak in favor of proposed ordinance 2023-18. Seeing no one, is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor of proposed ordinance 2023-18? Then is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? If not, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Compton?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 8-0. Proposed ordinance number 2023-19, an ordinance transferring funds from the Motor Vehicle Highway Restricted Fund of the City of Mishawaka to the Local Road and Bridge Matching Grant Fund of the City of Mishawaka for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2023, and an ordinance appropriating additional funds for the year ending December 31st, 2023. This is in the MVH to Local Bridge and Road Matching Grant Fund in the amount of $774,648.69, and an additional appropriation in the Local Road and Bridge Matching Grant Fund in the amount of $1,549,297.
Thank you. May we have the committee report, please?
Yes, Mr. President. To the members of the Common Council of the City of Mishawaka, your Committee on Budget and Finance, to whom was referred the matter of proposed ordinance number 2023-19, report they have examined said matter and that in their opinion it should be adopted. This is signed by the entire committee, and I move for its acceptance.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the committee report. Any additional questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We will now move into second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2023-19. Good evening, Madam Controller.
Good evening. Rebecca McGuire, City Controller. Mr. President, members of the council, this is our annual procedure to fund the Community Crossing Grant. We received $774,648.31 from the state, and we are matching that with $774,648.69 from city funds, where the difference is to make the total appropriation a whole number. The state's portal does not accept cents in their portal. This funds our community crossing, which pays for all our road repair that the engineering department sets for the year. And this is just the standard procedure that we have to follow by statute.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. McGuire? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? If so, please come forward. Then is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone with us this evening who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come forward. And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak in opposition? Are there any council members who wish to speak? Hearing none, then I call for the question.
Question.
Madam Clerk, would you please poll the council?
Mr. Belovich?
Yes.
Mr. Mamalenti?
Yes.
Mr. Benicki?
Yes.
Mr. Emmons?
Yes.
Mrs. DeMade?
Yes.
Mr. Compton?
Yes.
Mrs. Volker?
Excuse me, yes.
Mr. Hicksonbaugh?
Yes.
Proposed ordinance passes 8-0. Proposed ordinance number 2023-20, and ordinance amending ordinance 5811, the fixing of salaries of all employees of the city of Mishawaka except sworn public safety, Mishawaka Park Department, elected officials, and the Mishawaka utilities for the city of Mishawaka, Indiana, for the year beginning January 1st, 2023. There has been a request by the petitioner to postpone this until June 19th meeting.
Mr. Compton.
Make a motion, we honor the petitioner's request.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and seconded to postpone second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2023-20 until our next regularly scheduled council meeting on June 19th, 2023. Any additional questions or comments from the council? And hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We will hear that matter on June 19th. And with that, we'll move into privilege of the floor. At this time, members of the public are invited to the podium to speak with respect to non-agenda items only under privilege of the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Christy Miller, 321 West 7th. I'm just here to invite you all again to what will be our last regular meeting of the West End Neighborhood Watch this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. upstairs. We take July off. August, you will see us at National Night Out, and we'll have our regular meetings again the first Wednesday of September. This Wednesday night, we will be graced with the presence of the St. Joe County Humane Society, with Jenny Brown, the Executive Director, and Sarah Stanton, the Outreach Coordinator. We invite everybody to join us. All Mishawaka residents are welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak under privilege of the floor? And is there anyone participating remotely who wishes to speak under privilege of the floor? Thank you. With that, we will move into unfinished business, of which there is none. New business. Is there any new business to come before the council? Mr. Emmons.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a reminder that the West End neighborhood meeting on June 15th at St. Babel's at 7 o'clock. And our guest speaker will be Mr. Peter DeKeever, who'll be updating us on the history of Mishawaka. So look forward to seeing everyone there. Everybody is invited. And as usual, we'll have West End Bakery treats. So look forward to seeing everybody on the June 15th at St. Babel's. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other new business? Then hearing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.